So Maggie, why don't you take us away here?
Great. So hello, everyone. Maggie Davis, Oak Ridge National Laboratory, ARM Data Center. I'm the metadata flow lead. So the tutorial today is around helping you find your data. So data of interest to you from our ARM holdings that you can then use in tutorials in subsequent hours today and days this week. So I don't know if this is needed or not, but very quickly, we do have greater than 2 petabytes of archive data, 450 instruments, 2,000 active data streams, a whole bunch of publications come out of that per year, but we want to make sure that it's easy for you to find your data so that you can be successful in your science and writing all those pubs. So the part that I contribute to is kind of in this lower left here of a data lifecycle. So describing, archiving, and facilitating the discovery of data. So that falls under the umbrella of metadata. So we work with scientists to get complete metadata that's key to getting the science and data to the users. If you don't know what's in it, you can't find it and you can't use it properly. So that's where we focus our efforts. So here's some slides on the community computing architecture, and Giri Prakash is a co-author on this presentation with me. So Giri, please jump in.
Okay, I guess the purpose of this slide is to let you know, in addition to the data, ARM data services provide a robust computing architecture or resources for our users. And this includes what Adam was mentioning before, the recent inclusion of Jupyter Notebook, as well as high performance computing. So many of our users, they use a variety of computing along with ARM data to do their data analysis. Thank you, Maggie.
Great. Next slide, Giri.
Yeah, so the new cluster that we recently added literally a few weeks ago, it has 16,000 computing cores that are available for our large data processing as well as user data analysis needs. And it comes with a wide variety of storage architecture and also connecting to our 3.29 petabytes of archive data, the historic ARM data. And so we just enabled Jupyter Notebook, and it has the container support, and it has a wide variety of software, open source software stack available for our users to use. So yeah, so you can essentially perform computing where the data is. And this cluster allows you to do that. And to request access to this cluster, it is through submitting a science project. And so there is a link in there, and you can read more about the computing cluster as well as how to apply for allocation in this. Thanks, Maggie.
Great. So that outlines really well what the computing capabilities are. And now we'll pivot a little bit to what data are available that you could use with those computational resources. So the main website to go to is arm.gov. Pretty easy, pretty short. Hopefully everybody can navigate there quickly. And what you'll find is a website that looks like this. It's laid out. You can immediately jump into data in the upper left-hand corner if that's where you want to go, or you can explore data through our different capabilities tabs by instrument or VAP, which is value added product, or by the atmospheric observatory, so the spatial location of the data itself. You can also go to this research tab, and that'll allow you to access campaigns, campaigns such as this one that's highlighted here. on our main screen that also then has a little blurb to the left that tells you a little bit about what that article's about. But that's our GUC campaign tracer. So we do have the landing pages for each campaign, listing a series of instruments that we have available from that campaign. So if you were to go to that campaign website and then click or scroll down underneath the description of the campaign, you would find this listing. This is by GUC, is the acronym that we've picked for this site. These are all of the different data streams, plus scroll more and you would find more. A very handy little browse data button off to the right allows you to access those data streams immediately if you've already found what you want. Then say you wanted to look at the AOS and you browse data from the GUC site. You would see at the top that there would be filters that you could remove or add more filters at the left, possibly to remove the GUC filter, site filter, and see all of the AOS data that's available across our archive. But I will get to that more later. So we have categorized instruments and Vaps into classes. That's another way to search for data. So underneath your capabilities, instruments tabs, or Vaps tab, you would find a listing of different classes of instruments or classes of value-added products. And again, those are just an easy way for you to jump into the data from the website. So an example is a sulfur dioxide monitor aboard an aircraft data set, SO2-air. It gives you a little bit of information right from that capabilities instruments tab on our website about what type of instrument class this is, the start, the end date for it, that it is an active instrument versus a retired instrument, for example, and that we consider it a baseline product. So that in ARM speak is talking about instruments that we own, that we deploy at our mobile facilities as well as our fixed sites. There are other different classes of instruments, types of instruments, and you would find those under type here. And those would be, for example, whether it was an evaluation instrument or evaluation data stream. So that would be something that we're just testing out. Or whether it's a guest instrument. So that would be a field campaign guest instrument that's not owned by ARM, but deployed at one of our field campaigns and archived in our repository and available to you. So if you do go to data discovery, you'll notice that we offer various different ways to search the data. So there's searching by type ahead keyword search. So for example, if you type in tracer, you're going to come up with AMF21 tracer. You're going to come up with HOU, Houston, Houston X10. So these are all campaigns links that you could find from the data discovery that would take you to the suite of instruments and data sets available at that campaign. You can also search by classes of instruments. Yeah, this is actually an old graphic. We've added a whole nother class out to the right for airborne instruments. So the SO2-air that I showed you in a previous slide, if you click that airborne button, you would find it. But we also have surface properties, aerosols, atmospheric state, cloud properties, radiometric. So lots of different ways to jump into our data. So the first and most popular place that people usually start to interact with our data is by doing that type ahead. So it's very easy to just add in something, some parameter, some variable of interest, and see what comes up. So if you were to type in pressure, you'd find that ARM has a lot of atmospheric pressure measurements available. We also want to point out one key feature of the data discovery is that we have filtered by recommendations. So we have a defined list of criteria that allow us to recommend data to users. There's a simple toggle in the data discovery that I'll show you in just a minute that you can always turn off to see more data, and it will show you the number difference between the recommended data sets and the total number of data sets that meet your criteria in the data discovery itself. But our recommendations, the reason why they are there is that ARM really knows, you know, we have a vast holding, and we have a wealth of expertise to know which data sets really we've done really well and which ones have a general application across lots of different users. And so those are the ones that we pop up to the top. So they are recommended underneath different core measurements, and I've listed those here. We're continually updating these recommendations and making sure that we're providing the best available data to you users in that recommendations tab. But if you're not finding what you want, just feel free to toggle that off and see the total number that we have. So as I mentioned before, results can be filtered, for example, by the campaign of interest. And then on the left here, you see all the different advanced filters that you can apply. You can clear a filter using that button there, and that allows you to narrow down to exactly what you want to see. So there are abundant details available in the data discovery about the data before you ever get into it. For one, on the left-hand side, once you go into the details section, you'll see what data level there is. A B1 level data set has quality control checks applied to measurements. And if there was a higher or lower level data set for the particular instrument that you're looking at, it would be listed up here along with where it says B1 in this green box. And it would give you that description of what that data level actually means. It also gives you a little description about the instrument itself, the site that you happen to be looking at, the facility that you're looking at, and that latitude and longitude so that you can place it. The category and the data type, again, routine data means that, you know, it's ARM owned and deployed. If you were to click on that little or hover over the little question mark, it would explain that to you. And then we have start and end dates, and finally a DOI. So that DOI allows you to cite the data so you know exactly where to come back to it after your analysis. And so other users can find it too. There's also key information around the quality of the data listed in a timeline format. This is our DQR data quality reporting system, and they have categorized it as you know, routine or best known here in green. Suspect is in orange, limited access. We usually have pre and post campaign limited access data. And whether you're missing any data, you can visually see that right off the bat. And notice that is by your variable. Here we're looking at mean volume diameter. So you would toggle between variables to see the specific data. There are also data plots for many of our data streams, and you'll find those directly from data discovery by clicking on these little tabs that's under the header data plots. And if that's not enough information for you, you can download the file header. of the latest data stream that we have in our archive, and actually dump that header and peruse through it to see if that has what you want. So there are abundant details in that view, and you can download the header file header, as I mentioned, and get more information on the different variables. We've also tagged, as I explained to you earlier, some of the data. It can be recommended for particular variables underneath that data stream, and so we flag those as recommended in green here as well. Okay. For the interest of time, I'm going to jump ahead. If you'd like to know anything more about data quality reporting, there's a DQR web service that can be found and linked from data discovery as well. But I want to make sure that we touch on how to actually check out with data before we go find your data for you, because you'll have to download them yourselves, or I will just clutter up my hard drive. But you would click download the data, add to cart here. It's a pretty easy to find button, and that would fill your cart and give you the information about the number of files and the size that you're about to download, as well as the date range. You can, oh, that's what I was showing. You can select, you can change that date range if you've selected too much, and that's an easy interface within data discovery. And then once you're in the cart and you're ready to check out with that order, it will give you the additional options of how to get the data delivered to you through Globus, Threads, Dropbox, the data format that you want. Do you want it in NetCDF, which is our default, but there's also ASCII CSV, and lots of other different options here that you can choose. And then you submit to the cart, and you get a notification shortly after in your email that your data is ready to download. So in summary, ARM facilitates easy discovery for users through an interactive portal and accompanying details page. The longevity of the data relies on full metadata, which is the part that my team contributes to, and that promotes long-term preservation as well. And it enables data interoperability and provides proper credit to data contributors. So our data is fair. Okay, if you have any questions, here's my contact information, but I'm going to end this slideshow and jump directly over to data discovery and take questions. So are there any questions from the audience about data that you're trying to find that I can help with?
Hey, any questions? Now, Maggie, what is PI data sets, or are PI data sets available through data discovery as well?
Very good question, Adam. Thank you for the prompt. PI data sets are available through data discovery as well. So those are data sets that have been contributed by experts such as Adam Thiessen, gave us a data set last year, I believe it was. And those are specially categorized as PI because they were not deployed as part of a field campaign, but they do add value to our users, and so we're making them accessible through the ARM archive.
And are there other types of data that are not available through data discovery then?
There generally are not other types of data that we restrict. There are some restricted time periods for certain data sets that we restrict, but most everything that we accept to hold into the archive, except for just a few couple of edge cases, we do make available to users.
So just to elaborate that a little bit further, so we typically not make all the raw data available to the users, especially if we have the higher level data products. So, and also older version of data products will we typically not add it to the user accessible area. So this is really to help our users.
Okay, that's a good clarification. Yeah. So that's the different data level types that we were showing. The example I showed had a B level data, which had some QC applied. But there would be raw data coming from the instrument that B level data would have been based on that we don't make available.
Maggie, if you are sharing the screen, we are not seeing. So
I stopped so that I could see the chat.
Oh.
But I can pull it back up and we can go back into data discovery if there's any other. So I would love to hear. It looks like we have 47 people on. So who's looking for ARM data and what type are you looking for? What can we do to help you get to the right data for your science?
Please raise your hand or enter in the chat.
Maggie, you can use some keywords just for the demo purpose.
Okay, if I don't hear any questions, I can just jump around in data discovery and begin to show you what is available there.
Say, Maggie, while you're pulling that up, so if people go to data discovery and they do want access to like the raw data or some data that's not visible for some reason, how do they submit a ticket for help?
So yeah, I wish Maggie shows the data discovery page. We can actually walk you through how to submit such a request. Maggie, are you able to share? There you go.
Should be showing it now. There we go.
Yeah, there is a help, but I guess like ask us question right there at the bottom of the data discovery page, and also in the feedback on the right side. So there are a couple of ways people can request, okay, I'm not finding this data, can you help us? And then somebody from the ARM data center will right away respond back to you and work with you until you get the data that you need. Yeah, so for accessing raw data, we will probably ask you a few more questions, primarily because like we spend a lot of time and effort on processing these data and applying data quality and other things. So we'll try to figure out the reason why you wanted to have the raw data. So.
Yep. Okay, great. Thanks, Gary. We did have some questions come in here. So starting with Max, do you see ARM moving towards more of a streaming data access method or towards more cloud object storage systems, preventing the users from needing to download terabytes of data?
Right. So we are looking at multi-factored approach for this. And we actually, in fact, have live data access capability for some of our instruments where we make the data available to users through API within 5 minutes of collecting the data. But that really depends on which data from which instrument and also which location that we collect. And some of them it's literally not possible, especially like things like Mosaic, where we put our instruments on top of a ship. So live streaming is not possible. For things that have a strong scientific need, we work with the PI or people who request through a formal request process, and then make that data available through this live data service. And yeah, so if there is a scientific reason, and we will definitely consider adding specific data streams into this live data access service. So that's one. The second one, the cloud object store systems. We are actively looking into it, and we have been discussing with quite a few communities. In fact, like we discussed this with NASA and NOAA recently on how they are making their data into the cloud object store. And I mean, there are things that we learn from that, and we are keeping a close eye on it. For example, the Cloud Object Store, most of the data are in GeoTIFF, and ARM data, since it's a climate data product, and we use NetCDF format, and there are things are still evolving, and but we are always looking forward to adapt to anything that's coming that would help our users to use our data more easily.
Thanks, Gary. And the other question here, and Maggie, maybe this is something you can show us, is if someone uses data from the ARM repository or ARM Vaps, how do you cite it in a paper?
Ah, wonderful. Okay, well, let's pop over to data discovery, maybe look at some of our airborne data, and then we would be able to see how to cite it. So as I mentioned in my slides, there's a DOI in the details section of each data stream that you're going to look at. And that is definitely useful to begin your citation compilation, but we go a step forward and just go ahead and give it to you. So it's a quick copy, and you can paste it into your paper. We have this ARM format, but if you want APA, MLA, Chicago, BibText, those are all options available through our details section.
And that's just one place, and we realize that more place we make it available, this citation, it better gets used. So throughout the ordering process, you have this citation, and also after you place the order, you will get an email, and in that email also we provide, and also when you log in back to the account anytime in the future, and you will see that citation for your previously ordered data files.
And Gary, there's also a citation generator on each of the data product or instrument pages, right?
Correct. Yes. So that's something that like you can use, and essentially it will give you or generate the citation based on the format that you are looking for, and you can actually copy that and customize it. But if you use one of the formatted, I guess, structured citation format that we provide, it allows us to ensure the data reproducibility in the future. And if somebody is looking at your article and they want to get to the data, we will be able to provide a direct link back to the data that they ordered.
All right, are there any other questions? We have about 5 minutes left here. Any other questions, or Maggie, do you just want to go through some examples here? You're muted right now.
Thank you. Classic. I thought to go through the guided search if no one is asking additional questions, and highlight that we are working on highlighting different epochs for our data streams. So that will be a capability in the future. Right now it is in just alpha form, but we do have a little bit of information there, such as from our cacti campaign. But we'll go back and look. So I highlighted that you can go by instrument from arm.gov to find the data you might be interested in. But from our guided search, you can actually find the data by measurement. So if you're interested in a specific variable, then you can go here, such as, let's say we did, temperature or pressure. So you are going to be asked first what category of measurement you're interested in. So if we pick surface properties, we'll find that there's a couple of subcategories underneath of that to help us narrow it down a little bit more, whether we're interested in surface flux or subsurface state. And then you can further narrow it down if you're interested in specific primary measurements underneath that subcategory. Or you can go ahead and jump to your results. You can also skip this step, leave and not narrow it down, but maybe narrow it down by what data level you're interested in. Again, do you want that quality control B level? Do you want something that's a value-added product that has additional calculations on it? So let's say we want that B level. We're not interested in anything more raw, then you could click that, immediately go to results, or you could refine it even further. Let's say you wanted to just see where that type of data might be available. Since we haven't refined it much by primary measurements, we're seeing quite a few locations, quite a few field campaigns that would have this type of data. And you can see that it spans a long time, pretty much back to the beginnings of ARM in the early 90s. So if we click to get data, that would allow you to see that entire listing. And again, what I mentioned about recommendations. So we do have recommendations applied as a filter here. But if you wanted to see everything, you can see that it would add another 17 data products. So you would just click that off. You can also see all of the different filters that you just applied through that guided search, and you can get rid of those if you want. So if we wanted all different data types, we could click off of B1, remove that, and we'll see that jumps it up to 55 recommended data products and 346 total data products. So that really did balloon it. Let's say you said, oh no, I need to apply that filter again. Well, you would just go to your advanced filters here on the left, and you could add that back in. Let's say you wanted the A2 data as well. You were interested in 2 different data levels. You could then hit apply, and we're back down to 37 different data products. So there are these advanced filters that are easily hidden. If you're not interested in those and you just want to kind of see the main ones. And another interesting feature here is if you wanted to look at the different measurements. These are our primary measurement types that we apply. You can filter by those here on the left, or you can toggle this to instead be seeing it instead of by data product. You would actually see it by that primary measurement. So you'll see that there's atmospheric pressure here from the data product MET that is available at 2 different sites, our SAIL campaign and our tracer campaign. And I think I misspoke in the beginning of my presentation. GUC is SAIL and HOU is tracer. So those are just a couple of examples of how to get to your data. And if you have any questions at all about navigating our data discovery, or if there's a specific data set you're interested in, yeah, you can reach out to us, and we're happy to help.
Yeah, so Maggie, you may want to reiterate that the search button on that page, it's really powerful, and it has lots of type ahead. For example, if you start typing SAIL or like whatever keyword that you think will better fetch the data, it actually shows list of available, I guess, data products, keywords, and so on. So try the search. Simply, it should just work for you, and you can then use the filter to narrow it down.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, most people enter in through data discovery this way by just searching something in this top box. It really is powerful with that type ahead.
Great. Thanks, Maggie. Are there any questions here? If not, please do follow up with Maggie if they have some later on.